All right, let's dive right into one of the biggest, most mind-bending puzzles in all of physics, the arrow of time. And believe it or not, the whole mystery plays out right on your kitchen counter pretty much every single morning. I mean, seriously, think about it. You can crack an egg, you can scramble it into a messy pile of yellow goo. You can stir milk into your coffee until it's perfectly mixed, but you can never, ever run that movie backward. The universe just seems to be a stubborn, one-way street, always moving from order to disorder. The question is, why? Now, physics has a very famous name for this, the second law of thermodynamics. It basically says that entropy, which is just a fancy word for disorder or messiness, always increases. It's a cornerstone of modern science. But here's the catch, and it's a big one. Mainstream physics is great at describing this rule, but it doesn't really explain why it exists. It's treated more like a statistical truth, like it's just really, really, really unlikely for things to get more orderly on their own. And that brings us right to the heart of the matter. See, this second law isn't just some dusty old rule in a textbook. It's actually a symptom of a much, much deeper puzzle, the arrow of time itself. Why does time have a direction at all? So the traditional view is that an egg could, in theory, unbreak itself. It's just so mind-bogglingly improbable that we'll never see it happen. But a newer theory, called vacuum pulsation curvature theory, or VPCT for short, suggests something way more radical. It says time's arrow isn't about probability at all. It's a physical, irreversible process that's literally hardwired into the very fabric of reality. Okay, so to really get our heads around this, we have to completely rethink what we mean by nothing. We need to stop seeing the vacuum of empty space as just an absence of stuff, and start seeing it as a thing in and of itself. For centuries, we've basically pictured the vacuum as an empty box, a passive stage where all the action happens. But VPCT says, no, no, no. The vacuum itself is a dynamic physical medium, almost like a cosmic ocean. And just like an ocean, it has its own properties, like an amplitude and a phase. Think of that phase as the constant rhythm or the universal pulse of this cosmic ocean. And that idea? Well, it changes everything. So if the vacuum isn't empty, if it's this active, pulsing medium, well, then maybe that's where we'll find the hidden engine that's actually driving time forward. And this, right here, this is the absolute core of the theory. VPCT says time isn't just some abstract coordinate on a graph like length or width. No, it's a real, physical process. Time is the forward progression of the vacuum's phase, that cosmic rhythm we just talked about, advancing everywhere all at once. The time you experience is literally tied to the ticking of the vacuum's own internal clock. And what's so amazing is that it all boils down to this one beautifully simple rule. The rate of change of the phase, that little theta symbol, is always greater than zero. It means the phase can only move forward. It can't stop, it can't reverse. It is an absolute, unbreakable one-way street. This is the physical law that forbids an egg from unbreaking. Okay, so if the vacuum's phase can't go backward, what does that actually mean for everything else? How does this one simple rule create all the increasing disorder we see around us? Well, according to VPCT, every single interaction in the universe, from a star shining to you mixing milk in your coffee, spreads information about its phase outward through the vacuum. You can picture it like dropping a stone in a pond. The ripples spread out, and that initial, perfectly orderly splash gets lost as the waves expand. And because the phase can't reverse, you can never run those ripples backward to remake that perfect splash. That irreversible scrambling of information, that is the increase in entropy. So you see, entropy isn't the cause of time's arrow, it's a direct symptom of it. The real engine is the forward march of the vacuum's phase. Entropy is just the messy, irreversible trail it leaves behind, a permanent smearing of phase information across the universe that simply can't be cleaned up. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Wait a minute. Hang on, what about my freezer? Right? It takes chaotic, messy water molecules and arranges them into beautiful, orderly ice crystals. Isn't that decreasing entropy? And you know what? That is a fantastic question. And this slide just illustrates the solution so perfectly. Sure, a refrigerator creates a tiny pocket of order on the inside, but to do that, it has to run a pump. And that pump chucks a whole lot of heat, which is just a form of phase disorder, out into your kitchen. It's exactly like the analogy here. You're cleaning one room, but to do it, you're making a much bigger mess in the closet. You're not beating entropy, you're just moving the mess around. And the total disorder of the house, or in this case the universe, always goes up. So, if this theory is right, the implications are absolutely massive.
Tying the arrow of time to the vacuum itself doesn't just solve the broken egg problem, it could completely rewrite our entire map of reality.
All of a sudden, these huge, seemingly separate mysteries in physics start to click together. In quantum mechanics, it could explain why making a measurement is an irreversible one-way process. In cosmology, it gives a physical reason for why the universe has been getting more and more disordered since the Big Bang. And for thermodynamics, it takes that second law from being just a statistical rule, a really good bet, and turns it into a fundamental, unbreakable law of the vacuum itself.
And that, really, is the ultimate takeaway from all of this. The reason you can't unbreak an egg is the very same reason you can't travel back in time. It's not because it's just unlikely. It's because doing so would require reversing the fundamental, forward-only progression of the entire vacuum of space. It's not a suggestion, it's the law.
And that just leaves us with this one final, pretty profound thought to chew on. If this is right, our past isn't just gone. It has been physically erased, scrambled forever by that smearing of phase information. And the future isn't just unknown. It's being actively forged, right now, by the relentless forward ticking of the vacuum's universal clock. It makes time feel so much more real and, well, so much more absolute. What do you think?